Hello everybody, how y'all doing? I hope you're doing well. Took a little coaxing today to get her to come up here. There she is. But yeah, we got her. I know. There she is. Such a beautiful lady. I know. She's so precious. Oh, sorry about that. There we are. Here we are. I know. She's such a precious girl. She's my special baby. Here's her pretty face. I know. She's such a sweet, precious baby girl. I am the luckiest mommy alive to have her in my life. You know, I got very lucky to find her. Or more like, we kind of found each other. We were brought to each other that fateful night. And it took me about a week, but I finally got her. Had to borrow a cat trap, but I got her. She's just like, okay, I'm gonna go over here. I know I can't really see very well. So anyway, well, maybe she can come back. Maybe not. It's hard to say. Let's try. Say hi. No. Here we are. Say hi. You say, Mommy, I don't care about the camera. I want Levins. Yeah, she was only about 6 weeks old when I found her. I still say that she was dumped out onto the streets. I think she had a home beforehand, and probably not the greatest place in the world either. And just based off of my experiences with working with babies, that's kind of what I'm basing it all off of. And I seen her and I couldn't leave her. Oops. I was actually working. I was doing ride sharing at the time, and I was on a ride. Oops, I know. There we are. That's better. And she was on a curb, and she jumped down to get some water that was there on the street, and we made eye contact and took off up into some bushes. And I went back and found her, but she just wouldn't let me near her. She was very scared. I got some food at a convenience store up the road. Oh, now her attention is being drawn to a birdie that's outside. Oh, there she goes. So anyway, yeah, I had got some food for her, and she still wouldn't come near me or anything. She was just so scared, so skittish. And I tried becoming friends with her and so forth, but unfortunately, she just no. Oh, and I'm talking over the next several days, and eventually, I borrowed a cat trap from the Humane Society, from one of the volunteers, one of their personal traps that they had, and yeah, I gave her a little donation also, and she was so light, so tiny, she couldn't even trip the trap. But I got her, brought her home, and of course she was very, very skittish. And she wound up hiding. I had an office, a home office at the time, and she wound up hiding in there for about a week. And I did, with the way the apartment was laid out. Um, there's kind of like an intersection or whatever, between going towards the back of the apartment and the front of the apartment, and especially where the living room was at. I put her food and water in that intersection, so she would have to come out of the office and interact with me. Basically, would have to get her food and water, and that worked. So Next thing I knew it, she was coming out and exploring. I had a bunny at the time too, and that helped with things. He kept going in there. He was actually Mr. Grumpy Pants by that point. Yeah, he was getting older, and so forth. When he was younger, he was Mr. Spry and getting into trouble all the time, so on and so. He was a loppier. So he just um, uh, but yeah, as he got older, he became Mr. Grumpy Pants. That's the best way to describe him. And he kept going in there into the office where she kept hiding. That's kind of how I knew where she was, because of him going in there. And he was just like, "Wait, who are you? What are you doing in here?" You know, kind of like that and everything. But eventually she came out, and, of course, and um, yeah, she finally, of course, when she would come out to get her food, she would, hiss at me, oh, I don't like you. Ugh. But eventually she warmed up to me. Um, it's like, well, okay, not much choice here. I mean, she was so tiny. Her tail was bigger than what she was. She was so tiny. But yeah, like I said, eventually she came out and she started to explore a little bit more, warming up to me. And I remember when it was only about maybe a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks or something like that. I'm not too sure. She actually jumped up into onto the bed with me. I was really shocked, and she started letting me pet her shortly after that, and she actually let me pick her up and hold her. Whew, it was only about 3 weeks after I got her, basically. And yeah, she's been my baby ever since. Yeah, I lost my bunny. Actually, it was just a few months later. So it was definitely Kismet, karma, bringing us together. Um, so, but yeah, and I'm still the only person in this world that she trusts. Yeah, there's been other people who have tried. They might be able to get close to her. Put their hand out, sniff, or something like that. But um, that's the thing. I think that, of course, the trauma of living out there on the streets at such a young age. And like I said, I think that she was probably booted out. Probably the last of the litter that you couldn't find home for whatever reason. She may have been skittish. Probably may not have been the best home environment for her. And um, yeah, I don't know. It's like I said, it's based off my experiences with working with animals in the past and everything, especially ones who have been in abusive situations. It's just the experiences that I've had, and so that's why I think that she may have been in an abusive home environment beforehand. Um, and she may have been very skittish, very shy. I think that she was probably very, very close to her mommy, her mama cat, um, and I think that because of how close she is to me. I mean, she's very, very close, big time cuddle bug. So, but anywho, yeah, no, I got hairs. Love me, love my cat. Love me, love any of my babies. Actually, she is the first uh normal pet that I had. Oh gosh. I think I was a teenager. Um yeah, that we had a poodle. A miniature toy uh poodle. And she was the last one, really. After that it was birds, ducks, couple of guinea pigs, and we're talking all at the same time. At one point, I had, or I should say, we had 16 animals that we were taking care of. No wonder I want a farm. No, well, I mean, it was actually not long. Well, after Tootsie died, that was the poodle. She, let's hear, my mom and I, we always like to go to the mall just to walk around or whatever, you know. Not really necessarily do window shopping. We always like to do people watching. And we went to the mall, and there was a pet store in there. We always like to stop off in there, and there was they had some parakeets in there, and there was this one total. She was a character, and my mom was just really drawn to her, but she was just like, "Oh, no, I'm not ready," so on and so forth. And but then she thought about it overnight and decided to go back the next day and you get this parakeet. And this parakeet, apparently, according to the sales lady, well, at first when we walked in there, we couldn't find her, so we thought that she had been sold. But then all of a sudden they had some like cedar pet bedding at the bottom of the area. Is one of those like cube things or whatever that they will keep pets in or whatever. But anyway, all of a sudden, when she heard my mom's voice, up she pops from up underneath that pet bedding. It was like, okay. And according to the sales lady who had been working there the night before, and she knew us too, she was just like, that bird, she's been hiding up underneath there all day waiting for you. And it was just like, yeah, this is kismet. So we took her home and everything, and it took a while, quite a while, for us to pick out a name for this bird. Tried everything, and no. But then there was this one day, my mom, she had laid down to take a nap, and all of a sudden, this bird, trying to get my mom's attention, starts banging the doors on the cage, and it was just like, what the heck? And my mom, she would do that, and my mom would wake, and she'd stop. My mom would lay back down, and she would do it again. So finally, my mom, she finally wakes, sits up, and she looks at the cage and says to her, "You know what? You're a bratty bird, Pete." So that's became her name, Bratty Bird. Gosh, I know, and she was a brat. Oh, she was something else. But she wanted to be a mommy really, really bad. We had gotten another parakeet to help keep her company or whatever, and um, they tried mating, but yeah, nothing happened. And unfortunately, he passed away really early on. And then we got this other parakeet. I guess it was a kind of a rare bird or whatever, but those two really hit it off because they were both brats. And they did try. They tried their darndest to make babies. We had to separate the two of them, unfortunately. It got to be pretty bad. But anyway, so yeah, that kind of started our menagerie because it was uh, after that, actually, we lost Timmy. That was the first mate, I guess, partner or whatever that we had gotten for Bratty Bird. And yeah, we lost him. Um, Let me see. That was right after I believe it was right after I graduated high school. I don't remember, but anyway, it was after that. We were living on I don't know if you call it a lake. This was in back in Virginia, and unfortunately, in that state, or at least in that area, it was required with new developments that they had to also build retention ponds, which were basically lakes. They were, but the reason why they're considered to be lakes is because they basically dumped into each other. Okay, and unfortunately, during the summer months, basically they were like I said, they're retention ponds, but they're full of pollution. And in the summer, when it heats up, the especially since another issue with that area with these retention ponds is, unfortunately, on the one hand, they're required to put them in, but they don't have to supply any aeration. So you have stagnant water sitting there. And then when it heats up, you have basically all that oxygen being sucked out of the water. And there's fish that's also living in these ponds. And what winds up happening is um, the with the aeration, or the oxygen being sucked out of these ponds, because there's nothing to really stir the water up to get oxygen up out of the air to help refilter the oxygen in these retention ponds, basically. um, the fish start dying because they have no oxygen in the water to be able to breathe. And what they start doing is they start rolling over on the top of the water to try and get air. And unfortunately, they wind up not being able to get any air, and they wind up dying. So you wind up with these fish kills, um, basically wind up covering like half the lake or whatever. And of course, the flies are eating off of the fish, the ducks, and I'm talking about wildlife. They're also living in, basically the waterfowl and so forth. They're living in it also. They're drinking the water. They're feeding off of the flies, who are feeding off of the fish. And then next thing you know, you have all these duck kills also. And we're talking wildlife, protected wildlife even. And unfortunately, Fish and Wildlife Service, of course, they know about it, but federal government is like, you know what, this is the least of our problems, so they don't care. And this has been going on for 30 years at least, 30, 40 years. And it happens every summer, unfortunately, in that area. Excuse me 1 second. Mm. So, yeah, that's how I wound up with 16 animals. Some of them were that's actually how I wound up getting involved with doing wildlife rehabilitation, was through that, experiencing that my very first time. Um, I'd only been, or I should say, we had only been living there in that particular development for about a year and never heard about it or anything. And the first year, we didn't have any issues, but it was that second year that I was there that it happened. Right after graduating from high school. And so, yeah, it was like woke up one morning and it was just like, what is that smell? And it was dead fish covering half the lake. And we're talking a lake that was probably about a mile wide, something like that. So, half a mile of dead fish. Yeah, that was a wonderful smell to wake up to. Had no idea what was going on. We talked to somebody and she told me, yeah, this is something that happens every year, so on and so forth. And she had been doing it. It was like, wow. So, but yeah, that's how I wound up getting involved doing wildlife rehabilitation. And my specialty wound up being waterfowl, ducks, geese, and so forth. So, but yeah, and then there's more to it. I had no idea I was going to be talking about this today. But anyway, so yeah, it was a combination of that, and then of course people who had pets that they didn't want anymore, so we took them in. A lot of that sort of stuff going on and so forth. And that's how I wound up with 16 pets. Some of them wildlife that were unreleasable. And just to let you all know, at least in this country, the United States, it is illegal to keep wildlife unless you have proper licensing. Okay? Just to let you all know, can't just go out there, catch yourself a bunny or whatever, and be able to keep it. All right? It is illegal. All right? It can be taken away from you. You can receive fines or even possibly jail time. All right, just kind of depends. And they have been kind of cracking down on that sort of stuff as well. Um, but yeah, we always had the proper licensing because the ones, at least one of them that we had, one of the ducks was wild, considered to be wild. So yeah, that's uh, we had mostly we had domestics. Those ones, it's no big deal. You know, like Pekings, Muscovies, Runes, not loons, runes. Okay, that's Roons. Um, they're basically they look like giant mallards, is what they look like, but they're considered domestics. They're farm ducks. So, but yeah, had those mostly, but I did have one that was considered to be wild and had to always make sure I had proper licensing in order to be able to keep her. She was basic. She had broken her leg as a baby, broke it right in half, and by rights, everybody kept telling us to just put her down and so on and so forth. And I was just like, no, not going to happen. This was actually one of my grandbabies, I guess you could say. There was this group of ducks, baby ducks, that wound up getting orphaned, that lived on the lake. And I kind of finished raising them there on the lake. And they protected each other and so forth, and took care of themselves. But anyway, excuse me, they grew up, had their own babies, and the one that I had lucky, uh, she was one of my grandbabies. So yeah, she was um, uh, yeah, like I said, she had broken her leg right in half, and couldn't put her down, you know. But anyway, um, she was in cast for about a month, and then she wound up breaking her ankle the next morning. I don't know why she did that. Um, but if she would have taken off and landed on that leg the wrong way, she would have broken it again. It was always weak. So that's how I wound up with her. So, excuse me. So yeah, that's kind of how I got 16 animals. And then I got down to one and I took a break, and that's how I wound up with my bunny. I was ready, and then wound up with her. I know. I have no idea how in the world I was winding up on this topic. But anyway, that's how it all happened. Um, yeah, definitely this is doing a lot better today. I had to take another night off. I wound up with a massive migraine right here across my eyes. I couldn't even have bright lights on. It was bad. But yeah, that's definitely feeling better today. Most definitely. Getting there. learning learning how to um yeah, maneuver menopause. It's going to be a long journey. I know that. But that's okay. It's better than dealing with the periods. Yeah. So, anyway, I'm going to let you all go and do what I need to do today. Love you all. Talk to you all tomorrow.